Started. My name is Nicole Bellow, and I'm with Smarter HR Solutions. And today we're going to share some information with you about getting ready and get set and go get your job. As you guys know, with COVID and everything, a lot of jobs were put on hold. So if you had a job and you're no longer with your job, if you got furloughed for whatever reason, this might be a good opportunity for you to see and take a look what's going on out there. Everything is different. You know, the face-to-face interviews will be very different. What we're going through today is something a lot of people go through with the virtual interviews, because technology is something we all have to make sure that it's working for you guys, and make sure that you could, you know, it's good to be 15 minutes early sometimes, but even then, sometimes technical problems will come up. But just this is what we're talking about today, guys. And a lot of people are starting to rehire, but maybe not in the workplace. Maybe it will be a virtual position. So just, you know, just be ready for that. So the caution, the first thing is first, make sure you guys are checking on your social media pages. It's really nice to have those catchy names on your social media, but just remember, if you're not checking, somebody else will. Employers do take a look at what you have on social media. So I would make that, you know, whatever things you don't want people to see, I would definitely make it private, and kind of clean up your social media pages and what other people may post, as well as pictures that may not represent the character that you want to bring to the table for your new employer. So before you guys get started, what you guys definitely want to take a look at is choose a format that's easy to read, that has a lot of white space. And we'll talk about that later on the end about the white space. To summary or not to summary, I know a lot of times at the very top is something called an objective that people use a lot of times. But right now, that's kind of something you shouldn't be labeling an objective. An objective is like what you're looking for from the company. The flip side of that, of the summary, is the things that you bring to the table as an asset to the company. So we'll take a look at that. And the summary statements are usually best used by people who've been in the business, same line of business, over a pretty, you know, significant amount of time, for several years, and you want to use that summary statement. So if you're just starting out, only have a couple of years of experience, or your experience is kind of spotty, that's not what you want to use your summary, your space, your real estate on your summary for. You want to use that space to highlight and show your best skills. Maybe you can use the extra space for accomplishments or any technical abilities, but make sure if you're using it, make sure that it's creative, and make sure that it's something the hiring manager can clearly get an idea of what you have to offer, and it helps you to decide what you're bringing to the table. So before you get started, let's look at step one. You want to figure out where you're going. Like, what skills do you enjoy using the most? What accomplishments have you had based on those skills? And what issues or topics or areas are you most passionate about? When you're doing something you're most passionate about, you will definitely be more successful in that role, and you'll be a lot more excited and bring a lot more to the table to your interview. Also, analyze your target industry. Figure out where you want to go in your industry. If you're not already in that industry, take a look at what's going on in the industry, see what skills you need, and make sure you try to grab those skills. And make sure that you're looking for what the hiring manager is looking for. So looking at job postings and getting an idea of what's going on is very important. Step three, find your fit and condense your fit and your key points. So what are your most impactful selling points? You know, being on time, you know, having a great work ethic, those things are good. But if you're a salesperson or you are a technical person, you want to highlight those very impactful selling points. What critical problems are you well positioned to solve? You want to make sure you take a look at that. Are you the kind of person that you're fine with being face-to-face solving critical issues? Or do you take a step back and want to be more in the background on the phone or something like that, settling critical issues? And what is the divide or the cross section between what you want and your target? So you want to make sure whatever that gap is, you want to kind of take some time to fill that gap. So when you do start to get out there, you want to make sure that you're strong in your fit in your industry and what you want to do and where you're going with your resume. So here's just a quick example of a cover letter. You guys definitely should have a cover letter if it's allowed. A lot of times, sometimes people just take in resumes. It just depends. But here on your cover letter, what you want to do is anything that you have in the job posting, the language they're using, the buzzwords they're using, you want to kind of use those things. And you want to make sure that you're hitting them with the highlights of your qualifications. So on this one, basically the person's expressing their interest in a customer service manager position. They're saying they're self-motivated, progress-driven customer service manager, an extensive background in that area. And they have a long-standing record of innovative innovation. So those are kind of things that probably would grab someone's attention. And then you kind of talk about what you've done throughout your career and in your previous role. And then you ask for a possible interview, and then you thank them for their time and consideration. So here's a resume, and I'll talk a little bit later about the white space here, but here's a person looking for a client services manager position. They've used the left margin to put contact information, highlight their skills and education and training. So we do hiring and we do recruiting for customers or our clients. So if I'm looking at a ton of resumes, I want to go straight to what that person's skills are and what the education and training are, especially if those are things that are going to either move a person forward or, you know, I'm going to stop looking at the resume and go on to something else. So those things highlight. So at a quick glance, I can see that Jane is a problem solver, courteous demeanor, report creation, she evaluates data. I can see that she has a bachelor's degree and where she got it from, what year she got it. And then I can also see that she's continuing to hone her skills because she has certifications that are closely related to the experience that she's already gained. So as you see here, this is more of a chronological resume with the most current being at the top. If you have information on your resume that's helpful, you always can add it as like the accomplishments, activities, and honors. You can always add that at the bottom if you have space. You know, try to keep it to 2 pages. But you want to make sure that when you're writing your resume, look at your job posting. Don't use the same resume for each job because they're going to say it different. Like this is saying client services. Someone else might call it customer service. You have to make sure that you're using the same language. And the reason being is that when you're looking at your resume, an individual like myself, I'm a recruiter, I'm going to look at each resume. However, at companies and large corporations, they're not looking and they're not touching every resume. The ones that actually spit out of an applicant tracking system are the ones that have words that closely match what the skills they're looking for in that particular job post. So you want to make sure you have enough of that included in your resume so that your resume is at least taken out of the bunch of resumes and kind of involved in the scaled down version of resumes that someone is going to personally review. So make sure that you're doing that. So here's some parts of your resume. As you guys know, the header, you're going to include your name and at least one way for them to contact you. Guys, be mindful of the, you know, those type of email addresses, you know, I'm a savage at yahoo.com. Don't do that. You want to make sure you're doing something professional. They're free emails. Go and do one. It's really good to have a separate email set up for yourself, especially when you're in the mode of sending out resumes and interviewing. You don't want that mixed up with your personal information or emails. So you want to just do something separate so you'll know every time you get an email to that email address, it's something about your career and where you want to go. So make sure you do your header. You want to make sure your experience is there. Include up to 10 years. If you have more than 10 years, you want to make sure you don't list it unless it's really important to the job that you're applying for. And then if so, list it separately at the end as previous work experience. So you want to put that in there, if something's more than 10 years old, but you think it will help you. Next thing, review your education and training. List the most recent first. And if you have high school and it's been more than 10 years, don't even put it on there. Just put your most current degree on there. And your next thing is your skills. You want to use your top highlights of your 4 to 8 skills. So make sure that they're very short, 2 or 3 word phrases. Normally you can put them in like 2 rows on your resume, and then you don't put any punctuation at the end. Review your skills to make sure they match the job description. Guys, that's the most important thing. If you apply for a job and it does not match the job description, so of course those words that I was telling you about will not be matched at an applicant tracking system, your resume will not get pulled, and you've just wasted your time sitting there filling out the information. Don't forget about your soft skills, leadership, being able to coach, you've trained. Make sure you have those skills as well, your customer service skills. And next thing is your summary. If a summary is something that you can do for your summary, make sure, like we talked about the summary, if you need to, if you are a seasoned person and you want to use the summary, make sure that you use and you choose one. Make sure that it's very short, but you want to make sure that it's hitting all the highlights that you're looking, so you can develop a snapshot of who you are, what you want, what you're looking for, and what you want to accomplish. So your resume is ready. Now let's get your pitch right. So when I'm talking about a pitch is your elevator pitch. When you go to a job fair, or you are looking to go to some sort of event where there's going to be hiring managers and there's people there, you want to make sure someone asks you, okay, so what are you looking for, that you're not hemming and hawing and looking at your resume and whatever. You want to make sure that you're telling people exactly what you're bringing to the table and what you're actually looking for. So basically, creating your elevator pitch, you want to talk about who you are, what you do, your unique skills, and those will develop your story for your elevator pitch. So let's just say if you happen to meet someone in an elevator, or you meet someone at a job fair and you're looking for a customer service manager position, here's an example of what you could possibly say. If someone asks you, oh, okay, so what do you do and what are you looking for? You could say, I've been an assistant customer service manager for a large regional IT firm for over 5 years. I currently oversee the logistics, client service, and customer support for small to large key clients with 97% customer satisfaction scores continuously over the last 4 years. I'm responsible for hiring, training, evaluating a team of 27 IT technicians, salespeople, and client services liaisons. I've developed solid leadership and client retention skills that I'll be able to bring to a new position. This is something you want to be able to just like learn it, know it off the top of your head. So if you run across anybody, you can tell them specifically what you do, what you're looking for, and what position you hope they can help you with. So you want to make sure that you start to craft something that sounds somewhat like this for your particular industry. So if you're going into, nursing, you go into HR, whatever you're going into, you want to make sure you say, I have over, 7 years of HR related experience. I've had a team of 5 people. I've trained my replacement, whatever you need to do, whatever things are very specific to you and your experience that you can rattle off very, very quickly. So for me, I can say I've had over 25 years of HR experience, anything from hiring to firing and employee relations. I look to bring leadership and innovative ideas to HR and to my next, to my next endeavor, anything like that. But you want to, one thing about this one, like the 97% customer satisfaction scores. I know for us, as far as when we're actually getting people into these jobs for our clients, we literally, with one of our clients, we have like a 97% retention rate. And that means 97% of the people that we put there, they stay. So that's huge. And that's something I want to talk about. If I've, trained people, if I've written, content for training, those are some things that I want to talk about. And it may flip depending on who you're speaking with. So if I'm speaking with someone and they have a small team, I don't want to talk about 27 people because that means nothing to that small company. But I do want to say, I loved, I've have experience with large teams as well as small. When I work with a small team, I'm able to mentor and train on an individual personal basis to make sure that, we can continuously support our department or support the organization. You want to talk about whatever you can bring to the table to that particular person. So now your resume is ready, your pitch is crafted, now you're ready to interview. So when you're ready to interview, guys, the first things I'm going to tell you is just to be calm. Stress will derail your success, and that should have been success. Evaluate your skills. There's a lot of free online things where you can like evaluate your word, typing, all different type of skills. Seek positions that are best suited to your skills and your experience. If you have weak areas, go online. Now is the time when you're off work. If you're not working, now's the time to go and beef up on those skills that you feel that you're weak in. Pull job descriptions and see where the gap is and try to fill that gap while you have time to do that. Of course, increasing your typing speed, that's for anybody. There's not many jobs that you're not typing something. So you want to make sure you can do that. And there's a lot of free tutorials and speed testing. Get your resume and cover letter ready. Sharpen your interview and networking skills and perfect your appearance. We've been home a lot, I know, but you want to make sure if someone's calling you and you've sent your resume out and you're going to have a Skype interview, make sure that you can pull something together really quickly, at least from the waist up, and be able to appear professional in your appearance. Make sure you test your technology as we had today. It's, things happen, but you want to make sure you test it. And guys, record it, because you can go back and take a look at your recording and say, oh, you know what? I didn't realize I sound like that. I didn't realize I said that, or I didn't realize how I came across. And then you can go back and perfect yourself and get better. But the best thing I can tell you to do is be ready and stay ready. I know there's a lot of times we will post a job and we'll call people. They know they post a job. We have to remind them what job they posted. They might be asleep and ask us to call back, which I'm not going to call back, because if you were interested in a position, you should be able to talk to me. So what I'm going to say is be ready and stay ready, because you're not the only person looking for the job, and you want to do as much as you possibly can to separate yourself and put yourself ahead of the competition. So in your next opportunity, places to find them is do not look for employment using only one source. Don't just go to Indeed and just, say that's all I'm going to do. Go to several job boards. You want to make sure that you're looking onto LinkedIn and reach out to recruiters on there. Right now with COVID, people are going to probably use the job boards a lot more than they were before. Chambers have job boards. Workforce Solutions now, because they're a little bit slower with the traffic going on, you may be able to actually speak to a recruiter directly and find out what they're looking for. Register with several recruiting agencies. Some employees may not be returning to work, and that may be a good opportunity for you. Even to go in as a temp would be a great deal, because you can figure out more about the company. They can figure out more about you. Reach out to family and friends, anybody who you may know who may be hiring, or a hiring manager. Guys, college job boards, people are reaching out to college just right now to help them fill positions. There's less traffic on campus, so you'll probably be able to speak to someone. Never rule out the good old newspaper. I know it's old school, very old fashioned, but right now when people are not going face to face, you never know what you might find. You might find a small company just looking to find someone that they could interview for their positions, and someone you can get a hold of and have a conversation with on that particular position. And when networking events resume, go. Use your elevator pitch and do not stray away from those networking events. So if you see there's an HR event or a nursing event or a teaching event, go to those events and reach out and use your elevator pitch. That's a good time to do it. So guys, here's some interview tips. You want to make sure that you putting your best foot forward. You want to make sure you dress for success. How people look when they first see you, they've already formed an impression. So you want to make sure it's going to be a good impression. So no, short skirts or tight clothing or things that are too flashy or too revealing. You want to make sure that you introduce yourself with a firm handshake. Smile and speak clearly. You always want to give good eye contact. Here in the United States, especially, people feel that eye contact is telling a lot about a person, that you're sincere, you're being honest, things like that. So you want to make sure that you give good eye contact. Be prepared to ask questions about your skills and your education, but guys, be more prepared to answer situational questions. People are not going to ask a lot of yes and no questions. It's going to be how would you behave in a situation. For an example, if you had an angry customer that you've done all you can do, there's no additional things that you can do, but the customer is still angry. How would you handle it? What would you tell that person? Or if you're interviewing for a sales position, hey, I have this pen. Can you sell me this pen? What would you say if you were selling me this pen? People are going to ask you those questions because those are things that you have to deal with on the job. A lot of times, sometimes employers will allow for a working interview where they'll give you a task or sit you somewhere for an hour or two to see how you actually work in the workplace. I know we do a lot of assessments to make sure that you're bringing the right qualities to the table, because sometimes if you say, oh yes, I'm a great conflict, I can resolve conflict well, and then you get in the position and you really can't. So there's some different ways that we can test that beforehand. If I were you, I would take a look at doing some of the Strength Finder, the DISC profiles, so you can find out a little bit more about yourself. So when you start on your journey for your next career, you know what things you have already that are assets to the next position that you're looking for, so you can speak to those things. So if you are a great negotiator, or if you are a critical thinker, you can really speak to those things just in case someone's asking you these situational questions or put you to task as a working interview. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. Also research the company. Guys, for the most part, when you go to work, you're spending more time at work awake than you are with your family or yourself at home. So you want to make sure that you are reaching out to the website, taking a look at where you're looking to work. Make sure you've done your research, because they will definitely have done theirs. But you want to make sure that where you are working is where you want to be, where you feel good about, and where you have equal goals and you believe in the mission and vision. Sometimes people go, find a job and it's just a job, and they feel that once they get there, they find that they don't really have a link to the mission and vision, which makes it hard to buy into the whole aspect of the work environment. So you want to make sure that you've taken a look, but most of all, you want them to know that you've done the research. You can say, oh, I know that last quarter you included some additional services. How have that worked out? Or I noticed that you guys were above, your budget last quarter, or under budget. How are you guys dealing with that? You want to ask really good questions, or if they're in the community, you want to talk about what they're doing out in the community. That just shows them that you have done your homework as well. So make sure you bring those questions. You don't have to memorize them, because you probably forget them because you're going to be nervous because you are on an interview, but write them down and then take notes. Take notes that you might want to go back and talk about later. And also you want to take notes, because anything that was really connected you to the person, you want to mention that, because you definitely need to follow up with a thank you note. So grab business cards, find out, if they don't have them there, make sure that the person at the front that received you can give you their business card, so you can send a thank you note. Guys, I cannot tell you how much a thank you note at the end puts you ahead of the competition, because everyone else may not be doing that. Okay. And so I'm going to open it up for questions if you guys have any. Do you guys have any questions?
Yes. What advice would you give someone who's trying to transition into a different field that they've never worked in before?
Okay, so that's a good question. I would take your competencies, your overall competencies of all the jobs you've worked, and maybe instead of having more of a chronological resume, I would make it more competency based. And at the top on your skills, I would put more of the competencies there that go from job to job, the transferable skills that you have, and then focus on those things. 9 times out of 10, if you take all of your jobs from the previous time, you've done things that the next job that you're looking for, but it wasn't called that, or you didn't think about it in that way. So I would take a really good evaluation of your past experience and highlight those to transition into, where you're trying to go. Did you have something specific that you wanted to talk about on that?
Not necessarily. I know that, like, with my resume, I would be applying for HR related positions, but then they would never go through. And so maybe my resume probably wasn't tailored exactly to what they were looking for in the applicant tracking system.
That's a good. So what you want to do is you want to pull out the things in the applicant track in the resume on the job posting that match your resume. You want to make sure those words are there because those are the words they're going to be looking for. So even, you know, if you've ever trained anybody, if you've ever was responsible for anyone as far as supervising or scheduling or dealing with any timesheets or resumes or applications, anything HR related that you've done before, but it was just part of your job that you were doing under a different title, pull those things out. And those are the things that you want to use and highlight under your skills. But more importantly, take a look at the job description, whatever they have on there that matches what you've done, pull those words out and make sure you have those on your resume.
Okay.
And so remember I was telling you guys about the white space? So the reason why I was telling you about the white space on your resume. So on your job description that you pull, there's going to be words you're going to see that they're going to repeat throughout the whole entire job description. You can literally take huge chunks of what they're asking for and place them in the white areas of your resume and make those words white. So you can't see them, but the computer sees them.
Do they have to be a certain font?
No, at least 12 is like the standard. 11 is fine as well, but you want to make sure that your resume is not too crowded. But when you look at your resume and you see white space, if you're applying for an HR position and you know they keep saying, let's say if they keep talking about compliance, reviewing applications, you know, I-9 filings. If you've done those things, I would take those things and pull those out, run those words anywhere you see white space, and change the color of the font to white. Because the computer is not looking at white, it's looking at that it can actually pick up those words. Now, the person looking at your resume online, they can't see it, but the applicant tracking system can definitely see it. And it's going to pull out the resumes that best match the job description and those words. So that's just like a little cheat.
Okay.
So as much as you can fill in that white space, fill it in with those things on that job posting. So at least you have an opportunity to meet, you know, with the recruiter so they can actually see you and you can actually meet with them and have an opportunity.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay. Well, if you have any other questions, here's our website. You can go to there and ask a question. You can email me or call us. We will reach out and send a link when it's ready for a general posting. We just received a contract that we're going to be doing some temporary postings, and we kind of put those out on Facebook already. So we want to start gathering resumes. So take a look at your resume. Once you have it the way you want it, give us a call, send it to us, upload it so we can have it when we're ready to get going. So thank you guys so much for visiting. So sorry about the technical problems initially, but thank you, and you guys have a great rest of your day.